All right, guys, welcome back to the NFL Betting Show on FTN Network, where we just witnessed another dramatic week in the NFL, and we're only 2 weeks into the season. Abby Labar, Mike Randle, Chris Meaney with you all, and guys, I don't know about you, but there were a lot of emotions this weekend, especially when it came to seeing some of our favorite players go down. Injuries plagued the league. I don't know what that means for this weekend. There's a lot of guys that we're kind of just all sitting on the edge of our seats right now waiting to hear their status. But yeah, I mean, like, for just being 2 weeks into the season, some seriously notable guys that, left games.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm ready to talk about Chubb, so go ahead, Mike. I'm not ready to talk about it.
The Chubb one was brutal.
Was
prayers up for him. He's come back from so much. He looks so good. I mean, to me, he's the best runner in the league, pure runner. Very frustrating. And it looks like, Chris, again, the running backs, Austin Eckler injuries early, Jonathan Taylor being out. I mean, was it the move to go 0 RB? I don't know. I mean, there's injuries all over the place, but early returns, those wide receivers, those Tyreek Hills, those Justin Jeffersons, those guys not named Jamar Chase, certainly seem like they were solid picks.
Yeah, I mean, there's, from a fantasy football standpoint, I think it maybe a little bit too early to tell. And people people take this the wrong way, but I've always been alpha wide receiver, in the first couple rounds of all my drafts. But I do have a lot of Nick Chubb shares. Unfortunate for Chubb and Saquon and Austin Eckler. I mean, even from a takeaway fantasy, you don't want to see that. It was a gruesome injury. I just had to ask people to stop sending it to me in chat, just blocking everybody on Twitter that showed it. Nick Chubb is the best pure runner in the game, in my opinion. He's just so fun to watch. And yeah, we're going to be missing him and Saquon and Austin Eckler. There's some still wide receivers, I guess, that, AJ Brown hasn't been great, and Devontae Adams. There's still some guys that, went in the first, maybe early second, that haven't lived up to expectations yet. But Abby, really tough to see Nick Chubb go down, and your Giants, I guess Saquon as well. Not going to be with the team. I don't believe on Thursday. Dayball's saying he's questionable, but he's not going to play on Thursday.
He can't play. Yeah, he can't play.
All right, well, let's nix the negativity for now. Some positive news. Meaney, you are, need I say, perfect so far? Like, what I need to drink the juice that you're drinking.
I don't know. It's just hot start, I guess. Lucky. We've had to sweat a couple out. I actually felt a little ticked off on how that Saints game ended, because they were going to cover the whole way. Bryce Young couldn't complete a pass down the field, and the Saints hadn't allowed a touchdown for the first 7 quarters of the season. They hadn't allowed a touchdown, and then they allow that late garbage time nonsense to Carolina, but they do find a way to win. Yeah, it's been a decent start. Obviously, we're not going to go perfect, but it's been a good start, and this, to me, has been, heading into this week, the most challenging. There's a lot of big spreads. We have some guys that are questionable. You talked about running backs that we just don't really know a whole lot about, are all of a sudden now feature backs on their squads. So it's hopefully we can keep things going. I mean, Mike's been red hot as well, and we had a fun debate last week about the Saints, and it worked out. Neither of us were wrong when it came to that Carolina-New Orleans game.
How did that happen? I wanted some drama for that, but here we are.
Abby, I'm going to be kicked off the show. I'm 4-2. I mean, Alexander Madison is basically 8 targets because 2 were taken away, and somehow he doesn't get there. AJ Brown, we get the under. Yes, Chris, even if he caught that touchdown, by the way, still would have been under, but that helped a little bit with the flag. And of course, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, now no one's talking about it, 8-1 on the road as an underdog against the spread, so gets the outright win. But I'm not even in the same ballpark, and Abby comes in and just destroys us with Hawkinson. So I got my game this week.
Like the Giants, I did in fact redeem myself. Remember, guys, I also picked the Dolphins too, and
yes,
got my money on that one as well. So I'm still loving Miami, especially considering the fact that it was a completely different type of game that they had to play, and they were able to just adapt to it. I will say I did take Tyreek Hill over 75 receiving yards. That didn't happen, but that's okay. I mean, Miami covered. It was a fun game to watch. Cool to see an organization like that just continue to find ways to succeed regardless. So my Giants with the huge comeback win, didn't put money on them for good reason this week, but my heart, that was good. Dolphins win, TJ Hawkinson. Some good things for all of us. So let's keep it going this week, shall we?
Yeah, we shall. I mean, we're going to hold ourselves accountable. It's not going to be all like, hey, look at us.
I know we're not perfect.
But when we do have to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, Mike, we talked a lot about the Ravens not only covering, winning. We have had some dogs on this show, like Washington plus 3.5. Didn't look like we were going to get that one. The Broncos were up big in the second half. Not only does Washington cover, they came back and found a way to win that football game. The Bucks at home against the Bears, to me, like, it was plus money for them to cover 2.5. Like, that was one that we didn't have to sweat out at all either. But we are giving picks again, some props. It is a little bit early, but if you're looking for the FTN betting package, FTN wins. You see it on the bottom of the screen there. Save yourself 10%. Not only will you get our picks, you're going to get everybody's picks across all sports. NHL's around the corner, NBA, college basketball, Mike around the corner as well. Guys are giving college football picks. Baseball, Dream and Frank and Gross are still going strong over there. We have projections tools and a lot of tools. So the Discord channel, I think, is probably, it seems like, oh, a Discord channel, a chat. Like, what I want to. It's a great conversation. There's a lot of sharp people, not just us at FTN. Our subs are super sharp. Everybody's feeding off of each other. The conversations are awesome every single week heading into Sunday football. So I highly recommend it. Reach out if you have any questions, comments in the YouTube section here. But FTN wins. We'll save you 10%. And let's get after it. Week 3.
All right. Well, Randle, you just mentioned Washington and that game, Meaney. But Randle, I know that's a game you are eyeing going into this week. The Commanders a 35-33 win over the Broncos. But they're facing the Bills. It's the best team that Washington has faced so far, even though they have surprised us to start the season. So what do you like when it comes to this game? I think the spread, it's 6.5, right? In favor of the Bills. Is that still for the moment?
Well, I put this in my article this week on the Moneyline Underdogs, Abby. I am with Washington plus the 6.5 in this game. A lot of people are in Buffalo. Buffalo is getting well over 70% of the public bets. I like Washington here. The most reliable unit. I said this, Chris, you remember this during college basketball. You're looking at offense, defense, both teams. What is the most reliable unit? No doubt in this game, it is the Washington defense over 2 games. First game without Chase Young, combined now. First 2 games, 10 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries. They are a problem. They are causing chaos. They can make Josh Allen have turnovers here. I understand they got down big to the Broncos on the road. I choose to look at the comeback in the second half. And listen, Sam Howell had no time to throw against Arizona. Looks like, I know, this is blasphemy, Brett Favre firing the ball down the middle of the field, does not care. That was a dime he put to Terry McLaurin against a very good Denver Broncos secondary. I like them in this game. And Ron Rivera also. Remember I told you first week, he's terrible when he's a favorite at home. When he is an underdog, home underdog of 3 points or more in Washington, 7-4-1. That's 63.6%. I like the 6.5 in this game. Brian Robinson, I talked Abby's ear off before we even started. He is the Incredible Hulk. Enough with Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson is not Jerick McKinnon from last year with Eric Bieniemy. It's Brian Robinson. McLaurin's healthy. Dotson's going to get involved. Sam Howell doesn't care. The defense is creating turnovers. Rivera can coach defense. I like Washington, 6.5, my first pick for the week.
I like that you said that Sam Howell doesn't care. Like, I look at these 2 teams and like Josh Allen, Sam Howell, 2 in totally different positions as quarterbacks, right? Like Josh Allen, it feels like he has everything to lose at this point. And with Sam Howell, like he's just getting started. So he doesn't really have anything to lose. So you have like 2 totally different mindsets coming in. I'm excited to watch this one specifically. Meaney, what are your thoughts?
I kind of feel like Buffalo is going to win the game by a touchdown. I am impressed. Mike brings up a lot of good points. I really like Brian Robinson Jr. I mean, he's a heck of a player. We can stop it with Antonio Gibson, wide receiver converted running back to wide receiver, returning punts last season. Even when they were down in that game, right, Mike? Like a lot of people thought, oh, maybe Antonio Gibson will just be, game script dependent. They were down roughly 3 scores against the Broncos in that game. And we didn't see Antonio Gibson getting a bunch of targets out of the backfield. It was Brian Robinson Jr. on the field getting targets, treated as a bell cow back. The Washington defense, I do believe in. It's really just about Josh Allen for me. I mean, you said it, like it's the expectations are super high in Buffalo and they're super high for Josh Allen. Like he's got to take care of the football. We saw week 1 where he had three interceptions and 4 turnovers. I find at times he does a little bit too much, throwing it in the red zone, careless throws. But I don't like to disagree with Randle, but I do feel like Buffalo will go in. Washington playing Arizona and playing Denver. I think Arizona and Denver, I had them as like 2 of the worst teams in football this year. Washington's kind of right there. I'm impressed defensively and with Brian Robinson, and Howell's done some okay things, but I feel like the Bills will find a way to win this game by a touchdown. It's not one of my favorite picks, so we can lean with Washington and plus 6.5. People are watching here.
You know what, Chris? That's fair. What I will say is this: you put up that graphic before. What is it? Plus 230, something like that with Washington. Those odds are just too tempting for me. If Buffalo wins this game, would I be shocked? No, I wouldn't be. I would be shocked if it's 7 or more, but I get your point because I could see it going either way. And listen, Howell can make interceptions, but that plus 228 in the middle is just too enticing for me.
Yeah, we usually show spreads here, but we're going a different way. Of course, we have the parlay calculator, the prop shop, 2 free tools over at ftnbets.com. Links inside the description of this video to check out. But, if we're looking for some value, like a home dog, Washington, Ron Rivera is a good coach, right? He has these guys playing over the past couple of years. They've been a competitive football team. But if we're looking for like a money line dog here on the board, there's a lot of this like big time favorites here. Yes. Minus 545, minus 293 for Miami. Even the Eagles on the road at minus 235. Of course, the Cowboys at minus 7. We're not getting involved with that sort of stuff. Yeah. But Washington here at plus 228. Again, prop shop to find the best possible number there. I as much as I am on the Bills to win the football game, I could see it being a tight game and then hanging around in the 4th.
Okay, well, let's see if we can agree on this one, guys. Is it the Cowboys' year? Like, is it?
It might be. It's tough.
I know you love this game this week.
I feel like a sucker coming in here with a minus 12 spread. Like, oh, look at me. Like, let's take the Dallas Cowboys at minus 700 on the money line and minus 12 here.
Speaking of, I know.
I do feel like this is probably the most complete team in the NFC. The Eagles are going through something at the moment, and I know Mike is going to talk about that. The Niners are certainly complete all over the field as well, but this Cowboys defense, it's really more about the defense than the offense. We actually haven't even really seen the offense go yet because they won week 1 40-0. They didn't have to even throw the football in that game. And then in week 2, the same sort of deal. Like we saw Dak throw the football a little bit more, but they win 30-10. So they have a ridiculous 60 point differential through 2 weeks. And now they get what I think is the worst team in football in the Arizona Cardinals. Budda Baker, maybe their best defensive player on IR at the moment. Yeah, Arizona, great. Hung around with Washington in week 1. Hung around week 2 against the Giants. 3rd game in a row against an NFC East opponent. They are going to get smacked in the mouth. I just feel like they can't score 14 points in this game. And the Cowboys are going to score 30. That's kind of my thinking here, is they're going to get after the quarterback. Their defense is so elite that they're going to create turnovers. Micah Parsons is always making a play or two. And then the Cowboys are probably going to do enough offensively to score a couple touchdowns too. So it is a large spread. I've seen 12.5, 13 in some spots. Like, I just feel like they're going to win by, I would say the score is 30-10 or maybe 30-14. We get there here. Even though it's a large spread, I think they win by a couple scores.
Yeah, 2nd largest this week behind the Chiefs and the Bears. That's not surprising either. But Cardinals and the Cowboys are both 2-0 against the spread so far this season. I know that's not like a super big number, but something to keep in mind. All right, Randall, who else are you liking this week as we go into week 3?
Yeah, Chris is going to laugh at this one. I am going back against the Saints here. We're going to go with Green Bay -2 against New Orleans. Look, Chris, I recognize that the Saints have some very good skill position players. I do. Chris Olave, the catch, enough said. Okay. My issue, though, is that they benefited against a horrific Titans offense, unless they play the Chargers, and the Titans offense is great. And they had 3 interceptions. They played a Panthers team that was brutal on offense. I mean, Bryce Young, they just came out with a story that they won't even run the 3rd-and-1 pack push because Bryce Young isn't big enough. He's just very limited. He had 8 passes to Jonathan Mingo. Thank you, by the way, for hitting my FTM bets over receiving prop with Mingo with about 30 seconds left to go in the game. Their offense looks disjointed. They still almost lost that game, and Carolina loses key defensive player early in the matchup. I like Green Bay at home. I think the Saints have been playing sort of with house money here. Aaron Jones should be back. Jordan Love has impressed. This is a road matchup here. I have not been through with what I've seen from the Saints. Hopefully we get a healthy Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave. Too low of a number. No Jamal Williams. Kendry Miller probably back. They're going to roll with Tony Jones because Alvin Kamara is still out, Chris. So I am fading the Saints again. No blood last week. It was a push, but I did need a 2-point conversion. You're a good person for not bringing that up. But I would say this. I think the clock strikes 12 on the Saints. I'll lay the short money here with a Packers team that has been very impressive and playing a lot better than I thought they would.
Saints got robbed last week. Abby. I got robbed. I agree with you on this pick. I am kind of like,
Whoa.
I know. I know I'm seeing Saints on this show.
Are you guys okay?
Plus 180 to win the division. I got them as like an 11-win team. I really believe in their defense. Like, it takes some time, I think, with Card, a new quarterback here, to kind of get in rhythm with certain players offensively. But this is the 2nd road game in a row. They have squeaked out victories. You're right. Like week 1, it took Tannehill 3 picks. Again, credit to the Saints defense. Week 2, Bryce Young not throwing the ball down the field. Clearly their defense has won them the first 2 games, even having nice moments from Rashid Shaheed. Michael Thomas looks good. No ground game to really think of. And also that catch is probably going to go down as the catch of the year. And Chris Olave was fantastic. But it does sound like Aaron Jones is going to come back for the Packers. It sounds like maybe Christian Watson is going to play his first game of the season. So that's great news. The only thing I'll say, Mike, is Jordan Love, I think he's like 30th in completion percentage. He hasn't been super great. Mm-hmm. I don't know how the Packers score a lot of points. So I would lean to the under and just take the home team in this game, it being at Lambeau, Derek Carr having struggled over the course of his career outside of a dome on the road. So, I mean, I'm with you. If I was to pick a side here, I mean, I'm staying away from it. I have to pick it in my own pool, but I would lean Green Bay at home to win by field goal. Yeah.
Maybe it comes from the saltiness a little bit from this weekend's game against the Panthers. New Orleans let you down a little bit. Look, speaking of the Panthers, they have only scored 27 points this season. I'm from North Carolina, so a lot of my friends up here in New York are Panthers fans. So, I had the pleasure of watching the game with them at a bar, a Panthers bar specifically. And let me tell you what, it was fun for about 10 minutes. And then it was very depressing to watch a lot of my friends and their faces and just their reactions to this one. So they're going to travel to Seattle this weekend. And Meaney, I think you like this one.
I do, and it's not Carolina. It is Seattle at 5.5. I think, Mike, you may have jumped on this in the tracker at 4.5. You got the better number there. I see some 6.5. I could see this getting up to 6.5. At most books, I think closer to kickoff. It's a lot of the things that we just talked about and Mike alluded to in that Panthers and that Saints game. Bryce Young, 59% completion rate through 2 games. Does look pretty small, man, behind that offensive line. Seattle has been a really tough place to play football for opposing teams for years now. The 12th man in there. A nice bounce back game from Geno Smith, without his left tackle and his right tackle. Went in Detroit, had the lead. Detroit came back, and Seattle was able to find a way to win that game in overtime. Geno, better quarterback here, better defense. And Carolina has some players on defense. They played good against Carr in that game at home. They were able to get after him. But I really do like the Seattle team. And, Bryce Young is in just such a tough spot, right? Yes, rookie quarterback. There's nobody on this team that's creating any separation for him. Just there's nothing there. I will say Adam Thielen, if you see a 2.5 catch prop again, like that's something that we hit on the first Carolina drive over at FTM Bets, over 2.5 catches. He was the go-to guy for Bryce Young, but Mingo is not getting any separation. DJ Chark is just, I don't know. Is this guy fully healthy? He just really kind of runs go routes. Hayden Hurst is been the guy, I guess. He was in week 1. He got a couple targets late in that game. He's just not moving it down the field. And I don't know if that's going to continue. Week 1, he had 2 completions of 10 yards. Frank Reich is trying to simplify this for Bryce Young, and he's going to have to maybe open up the playbook a little bit, and that could create some turnovers. So I am riding with the Seahawks at 5.5 here at home.
Yeah, no, I like it. So that was a Monday Night Football game for the Panthers in New Orleans. There was another Monday Night Football game. I think we saw yet another Monday night full of some drama and surprises. So speaking of this coming Monday, Randall, you've got your eyes on this matchup. Are you Team Baker? I know we talked about him last week. I'm Team Baker.
We've been Team Baker 3 weeks. This will be the 3rd week in a row, I believe. We've been Team Baker.
I'm just testing him to see if he's sticking with it or not.
Yeah, we could be Team Baker. I have no problem with that. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles are a tremendous football team. They are definitely a Super Bowl contender, solid, absolutely one of the best teams in the league. However, if you want to be objective, Jalen Hurts right now is 26 among quarterbacks in passing yards. You want to be objective, they were gifted a 16-0 lead as a result of 2 New England turnovers and then outscored 29 the rest of the way by the illustrious Patriots offense in week 1. In week 2, yes, they played well, but they did give up 34 points to Minnesota and allowed Kirk Cousins to throw for 364, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And in that game, they got 4 fumble recoveries. So they've gotten a lot of turnovers. You want to say that's a defense, that's fine. The Buccaneers defense is legit. They have played very well. They're ranked well in DVOA here at FTN. I think this number is too much. I am taking Tampa Bay plus 5.5 in this game. I expect their run defense to really limit DeAndre Swift. At the end, we'll do some wrap up here with some of our projections at FTN because I have a lot to say about Swift. Obviously, you know, Chris' knee-jerk reaction is going to be to bet the over on Swift. I'm going the other way. I think Tampa Bay limits the running attack. I think they do. I think Hurts is going to have to make some plays. And I think this Tampa Bay offense with Baker, with Evans, with Godwin will keep this game close. 5.5 is a frisky number in the NFL. I like it here, especially with a team at home getting points. No one believes in Tampa Bay yet, and we still love Philadelphia. But, Chris, that's a lot of turnovers in the first 2 weeks to get their first 2 wins. Not saying they're not going to be great. I just think this is a tricky spot.
Yeah,
this is another one that I really like. Yeah,
I was gonna say Bucks have kept teams to under 20 points just in the last 2 weeks, so that's a nice little number there too. Meaning?
Yeah, it is a. This is if I were to pick 3, this would be in my 3. Mike jumped on it first. Love it. I would piggyback off of this pick as well. Haven't been super impressed with Philadelphia so far offensively. I do believe that they figured out something in the second half of that game against the Vikings. Like when they hired Nick Sirianni and Steve Steichen like a couple of years ago, it was Jalen Hurts throwing the football. I remember Eagles fans were just like nonstop booing because they wanted Miles Sanders to get some run. Like their true identity is to run the rock and lean on that offensive line. I know everybody wants Jalen Hurts to drop back 40 plus times and hit AJ and Devontae and Goddard and all these like sexy pieces they have in their offense, but they need to run the football. And they did that really well. Having said that, Tampa Bay historically, again, maybe not historically, but over the past couple of years, they've been a really good run defense. They still have some good players. I love Devin White, right? We'll see if Carlton Davis plays. Like they have some really good players defensively. Yep. Yeah, Vita Vea. So road game, Eagles could really be 0-2, right? Mike talked about it, escaping with a couple wins. It's nice to see, but offensively, they still need to figure some things out. And not to mention, defensively, they're missing some guys. And I think that we've said this a couple of times that they will struggle in the middle of the field. So I will be attacking Chris Godwin this week. I know Mike Evans has been really good, a couple touchdowns in his first 2 games. I believe he'll have to deal with Darius Slay. The middle of the field will be Chris Godwin, K-Dot, and maybe like a 2.5 catch prop or something like that. I'll be jumping on that as well. Maybe Rashad White out of the backfield catching a couple passes. So I think this is a field goal game. I believe Philadelphia will pull it off, but plus 5.5, I would lean with Tampa Bay at home for sure.
Okay, so here's another defensive team that I'm absolutely loving, the Steelers. Meaney, will you throw up that graphic again with the money line?
I will.
So plus 105 is not super enticing. I get it. But the spread is, 1.5? I like the Steelers as a dog in this one. What are your thoughts on this, guys? I mean, the Raiders have a struggling offense. I know it's a road game for Pittsburgh across the country, but like Josh Jacobs didn't do anything last week. The Steelers had 2 defensive touchdowns. They sacked Deshaun Watson 6 times. Like, I am liking where Pittsburgh's going, and I think if their offense can get things going as well, it's a recipe for success.
Yeah, Mike, do you want to jump in there? I see plus 120 at BetMGM if you want to take them on the money line, and plus 2.5. Yeah, it's not bad. A little bit better. The defense is legit, right, Randall? And the Raiders defense certainly has some holes, and offensively, we haven't really seen it from them yet so far to start the season.
Yeah, I'm worried about no Cam Hayward. That hurts them with their rushing attack. Nick Chubb was dominating that game. Jerome Ford did a nice job. But I have no problem, Abby, betting on the team with the better coach with the history of success. Watching that game against the Browns, first thing I thought of is time to bet the Steelers to win the division. Because the Bengals, to me, are going to struggle all year. I think that's legit. Chubb out hurts the Browns. They found a way to win that game, Pittsburgh. And, of course, you know the Ravens. It's always going to be a slobber knocker back and forth. So I have no problem with it. I think the Steelers need this game. I think, what do they have coming up? They have Houston after that, I think it is. And then the Ravens before their bye, something like that. So there's a huge difference between Pittsburgh getting this game and being 2-1 with all the injuries on defense, with the fire Matt Canada chance going on in Pittsburgh, okay, and them losing this game. I have no problem backing Tomlin. Enough with Josh McDaniels. No problem with it. I like it. They just have to contain Josh Jacobs coming off his illustrious -9 total rushing yard performance.
What's the total on this game? Because now I feel like we would take the under on this one too if it's going to be a defensive slugfest.
Total I have is
43. 43. Yeah, I would lean to the under on that total. We know the Steelers want to run the football. Kenny Pickett has really only shown us that he can hit Jaylen Warren out of the backfield and also just hit George Pickens in certain spots. Like, obviously, Deontay Johnson is on IR, so he's not going to be with the squad. I think Pat Freiermuth has like a couple catches. That's it through the first 2 games. Najee Harris hasn't looked good running the ball. This could be a get-right spot for him potentially, but the Saints or the Steelers play at a bit of a slower pace. They do want to run the football. And on the other side, even with some of the injuries that the Steelers do have, Jimmy G is just not it. And they just haven't shown us that they can move the ball. Like, they beat Denver, big deal. Like, Broncos are no good. And then they couldn't move the ball against the Buffalo Bills, right? As Mike alluded to, Josh Jacobs not really all that good. I would expect a bounce back game from him too. But yeah, 43 does seem like a high number. I could see this being like a 2017 type of game and wouldn't be shocked if it was like a 14-13 type of score.
All right. Well, Randall, you've got some projections that you want to hit before we go on this one. I think we've kind of covered everything as far as the sides go and money line picks. What do you have for us specifically when you're looking at maybe some of the props that we could see that would come out later this week?
Sure. Make sure, guys, you get the FTN bets. We have each of the game projections. And what Frank Brank and our data team does is they give you projections on every player. So some of these props are not out right now, but I found one from each of the games that I liked. First one, no surprise here with Washington. We have Brian Robinson projected for 69.38 rushing yards. I would expect his rushing yardage prop to be somewhere in the 60s, and I am going over on that number. So I think people are going to see it. It's going to be about 65, 64. We have him projected for 69, so that's the first one where I went there. The second one, sort of surprising, and Chris, I get your opinion on this. I'm very down on A.J. Dillon. I really am. However, we have projected A.J. Dillon for 51.64 rushing yards. With Aaron Jones coming back, I would expect that number to be very low here. Thoughts on an A.J. Dillon bounce back against the Saints? I thought that was a high projection when I saw it, but I don't doubt our model here. He is definitely going to have a rushing yardage prop under 50, and we have him at 51. Any thoughts there?
I needed you to say that because I have him on my fantasy team, and I didn't team A.J. Dillon, so I like this projection.
I kind of lean to the under.
Come on.
I know. I am. AJ hasn't been super impressive for me. He didn't really do anything for me last week. And so Saints, I have a lot of respect for. I know we talked a lot with the Saints, but I have a lot of respect for their defense and their run defense as well. So if Aaron Jones comes back, I think that we'd see AJ Dillon take a back seat, but that's not confirmed that Aaron Jones is going to be back. So I don't know what that number will do. If I would imagine it would come down a touch if Aaron Jones was active and ready to go.
And Abby, last one. Here's my favorite one. After DeAndre Swift looked like the second coming of Walter Payton in the last game, what do you guys think we have DeAndre Swift's rushing yardage projected for against Tampa Bay? It was what, 166 last week? What do you think it is, guys? Take a guess.
I'd say like it's in the 60s.
Okay, Abby?
70s?
47.2. Whatever DeAndre Swift is, go under. I am not sold, Chris, on the fact that this is a one-man backfield because of that game. Gainwell could be back. Boston Scott could be healthy. We know it's not Rashad Penny. But either way, Vita Vea is going to say, come on in, the water's fine. I'm going under with DeAndre Swift. Our projections have him at 47-yard rushing yards against Tampa Bay.
That's crazy.
Okay. It is, and I would stay away from it altogether. Like it's just,
let's avoid it.
I wouldn't. I really would, because, and it just feel like a cop-out answer. If I would lean to the over, honestly. Sorry, Mike, but I would lean to the over, and just the fact that he should. We've been down this road before with these Eagles running backs. I say he should be the lead back. Like he did enough in that last week to start the game and give him the benefit of the doubt to be the guy. But again, Bucs defense, we talked about it on the road. This is not the Vikings. The offensive line does create a lot of holes for running backs. You know, my buddy says anybody can run behind that Eagles offensive line. I don't think that is fully true, but Miles Sanders has had some big moments. Swift last week, big moments. Even Kenneth Gainwell's had big moments. But if Kenneth Gainwell is fully healthy in this game and he is active, you know, with the longer week here, they haven't played since Thursday, so it's a lot of time for him to get right on the Monday Night Football game. That if Swift were to struggle in the first half with some carries, Gainwell gets in, they will ride the hot hand probably all year long on the squad. So yeah, I thought it would be a little bit higher than that, but I guess Vegas is, they're super sharp. They build big buildings for a reason. They know what's going on over there. I have a couple props I wanted to toss out. I have no numbers here. Again, it's fairly early. FTN wins. Check us out. We'll have some prop bets and things like that. Mean Streets on Friday. I mentioned Godwin. I'm going to be in on Chris Godwin. Josh Reynolds continues to just kind of pop off. You know, it's not significant, and he did have 2 touchdowns last week. The first 5 games of last season, he averaged nearly 70 receiving yards. Jared Goff and him go all the way back to the Rams days. They're looking for a number 2 to step up inside that offense. Amon-Ra is not 100%. I do think he'll play. But Josh Reynolds even had a red zone rushing attempt last week when Dave Montgomery left. So they're using him all over the field. His receiving yard prop will probably be around 40 again. That's something I would take. Inside that same game, Gibbs had 9 catches. There's no Montgomery. I would be looking at the reception yard prop. Maybe the catches and the receiving yards for Gibbs. And then Jordan Addison. Like, Addison is still, like, I would take his receiving yard prop. Like, him and Flowers, I've been in on their receiving yard props, Mike, for the first couple weeks. Now, Flowers, a lot of looks in week 1 without Mark Andrews. Week 2, he had his catch prop 3.5, and I think his receiving yard prop was 40 some odd. But Jordan Addison still playing behind Hawkinson, our guy. Justin Jefferson, of course, and even KJ Osborne. But he's so explosive. And he's never going to get double teams because of Hawkinson, because of Justin Jefferson. He sees a lot of one-on-one coverage. That Chargers and Vikings game, the total has moved from 51.5 to 54.5 in just like 48 hours. It really just takes one catch for Jordan Addison. You've seen it. Busted coverage in week 1, long touchdown. Busted coverage in week 2, long touchdown. So I think avoid the catches. It may be at 3.5, 4.5. Just take anything over 45.5 or something like that. And I got one more. I know I'm talking a lot. I got one more pick. I got to give a third spread here. A third spread. We got to do it 3 weeks in a row. We're going to pick on Russ, right? We had the Raiders plus 3.5 said dog money line. Last week, Commanders plus 3.5 dog money line. Here we go again. Now the Broncos, they played their first 2 games at home. They laid an egg. They got to go. This is a long travel, big travel game for them over to Miami on the road. Dolphins, Tua, offensively, they're rolling. Yeah. May have to sweat this one out, 6.5, but I could see them winning by a touchdown. And I just don't believe in Denver at all. And I think after this game, Mike, if this is another, we're going to start to hear it like from Peyton. It's going to be like Russ can be on the hot seat. Broncos start 0-3. Offensively, they were the worst team in football last year. I'm sure Judy gets a little bit more run, but Javante's not healthy. And I just think there's a lot going on with the Broncos, and could be another long year for Denver. How do you think about that one, Mike?
Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't think Russ is playing that poorly. He didn't get a lot of attempts because the defense can't stop anyone.
Yeah.
Peyton was critical of him, but if you look at the points per play, I believe right now the offense is number 1 in points per play in the NFL. The DVOA rating is good. It's the defense which is catastrophic. To that being said, I don't know how they get right against Tyreek Hill at home with the Dolphins. So I think it's a rough spot, but I don't think Russ has been playing that badly, to be honest. I mean, that was pass interference at the end of the game. I don't get into that because he shouldn't have caught the Hail Mary to begin with. So that's fine. But I think Russ has been better than people realize. I just think he hasn't had that many opportunities. Look at his attempts in the first half. I mean, through the 3 quarters of the opening game against the Raiders, I think he had like 10 attempts. So he's just not getting opportunities. I think the bigger focus is the defense. But I agree with you. This is a rough spot for them to get right. Sean Payton better get things together. One thing I'll say, guys, I get the point about Addison. I agree. Why are the Chargers a favorite? Chargers last here per Aaron Schatz, FTM Fantasy, and DVOA. Why are the Chargers the favorite anywhere over Minnesota? That one I just don't get.
People just love the Chargers. It's like every year we do this with the Chargers.
Yeah, like everyone loves the Chargers.
Chargers going to win the division. Chargers are going to make the playoffs. Justin Herbert's the best quarterback. Kalen Moore is going to fix Justin Herbert. Yeah. Like it's just, and last week they threw on Tennessee, but there always just seems to be something with the Chargers. This year they finally have a kicker that's making field goals, but they find ways to lose weird games, whether it's offensively or defensively. So I agree. Like Minnesota at home, I think that one's going to be a shootout. Whoever has the ball last, like that one's going to be a shootout. And this one is not going to be a shootout. Tennessee at Cleveland, no Chubb. Just run. More picks. I guess I have more picks. Like it took me a little bit to get 3, and it was 4. I don't think anything happens in this game at all. And Deshaun Watson has not looked good to start. The offensive line's got some issues as well. Cleveland's a tough place to play football. We know Tennessee wants to run. You can throw on Tennessee, but I'm not convinced, Mike, that Deshaun Watson can throw on the secondary at the moment. So it's a low number, 39.5. That one I feel like I'll give a prediction. Tennessee wins 20-17.
Yeah, look, really quickly, guys, at DK Sportsbook, looking at where the public bets are right now, 87% of the bets on Seattle -6, 84% of the bets on Dolphins -6.5, and 77% of the bets on Titans +3. So I agree with you here. It's going to be a run game. The under I like, Chris. That's a great call. Jerome Ford, everybody's going to spend all their fab on Jerome Ford. He's not scoring this week. That's for sure against the Browns.
He's in a tough spot this week. Yeah, he'll probably get a lot of usage, a lot of opportunities, but it's Tennessee historically, again, I've said that like 3 or 4 times, but they have been a really good run defense. And I think it's mostly because part of those numbers are skewed. And again, you mentioned DVOA and Schatz. Like that's what's so great about that tool. There's a lot of great things about the tools that he brought to us over at FTN. Thank you, Mr. Schatz. But teams just typically they throw on Tennessee instead of running on them. And Deshaun you don't look good.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to have all of our eyes on the injury reports this week. So if there is a line that you like, I would suggest going ahead and putting your money on it now, even whatever your gut's saying, because as soon as we start getting updates, those lines are going to move. But this is all amazing stuff from both of you as always. This is fun, guys. This weekend, can we keep it perfect? You think we can do it? Probably not.
I don't know.
It's just Chris's world. I'm just living in it. That's
We're all living.
Mike's going to go perfect this week. So will you, Abby.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. As always, we're going to have plenty more where this came from. And of course, you can hop on over to ftnbets.com for all the info that you need. Use our prop shop, which is incredible. It helps me out every week. I'll tell you that. But yeah, thanks again. And we enjoyed just talking shop. We'll be back again next week with plenty more. For Mike Randle, Chris Meaney, I'm Abby Labar with FTN Network.